right. Um, so tell me your name and your title and how long you've been doing this work.
So my name is Chase. I'm doing the emphasis patrol. So I basically just go through like the alleyways and do some checks around the city as well. And then I've been doing this for about a year and a half almost, maybe.
Great.
So yeah.
Cool. Okay. And can you describe your work in a given shift?
It kind of varies a lot, but I mean, most of the time I'm going through the alleyways. That's like where the hot spots are. So I drive through the alleyways. A lot of times there's people hanging out there, doing stuff they shouldn't be doing. So I kind of just ask them politely to move on, and usually there's not really any problems. We have a good relationship with the houseless community. So for the most part, it's pretty smooth.
Yeah. So what sort of activities are you interrupting,
Um,
or what do you look for?
so a lot of the times, people will be smoking fentanyl. So we'll be looking for tinfoil, people with blankets over their head. That's usually how they try to hide it, and that that's mostly what we're interrupting. A lot of times, well, a few times I've had to do Narcan and CPR and stuff like that throughout the alleyways quite a bit. So,
Tell me a little bit about that.
just see somebody laying out and then go check on them. A lot of times they're just sleeping,
Yeah.
but you can kind of tell when they're a little more than sleeping. So I go up, start with verbal, trying to ask if they're okay, if they need any help. If there's no response, then I'll do sternum rubs, or pressure points to try to get them more awake. And if that doesn't work, then I'll start out by dialing 911 and giving a Narcan to start. And then if they're not breathing, I will start with chest compressions. And then after a little bit, I'll give them another Narcan if they're not back yet. Most, pretty much every time, I've actually been able to bring them back so far. So,
Wow, that
yeah.
must be intense.
Yeah, it is.
You mentioned that you've got good relationships with the houseless community.
Yeah.
How do you personally, in this line of work, build those relationships?
You just treat them like they're people. A lot of times they don't really get that from people walking down the street. So you kind of just start up little conversations with them. Like if they're not doing anything wrong, I just sit there and talk to them for a little bit. And then they figure out like we're not here just to kick them out of places. We're here to actually help them out as well as the businesses that we do work for. So they, they're mostly cool people. So it's actually a good time sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You mentioned some of the businesses that you work for. Um, what sort of interactions do you have with uh, maybe store owners or business owners? What sort of relationship do you build?
So they'll a lot of times they'll call us, and I'm usually the guy they send, especially for like the alleyways and stuff like that, which we get a lot of calls about. So I'll go and I'll have a conversation with the houseless community that are in the alleyway. They will head out, and then the business owner will come up and thank me, and we'll talk for a little bit and try to figure out better solutions to keep the alleyways clean.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me a little bit more about the people who this work puts you in contact with. You can even tell a story or something that floats to the top of your mind about these folks.
A lot of them are really good people. They just had some hard times in their life and ended up on the street somehow. And Yeah, they're most of the time they're really good people. So they're really easy to talk to. They're understanding that you're just doing your job, and as long as you're understanding with them as well, you kind of build a good relationship that way.
Are a lot of the folks armed?
Um, I mean, I'm sure a lot of them are concealing, but there's quite a few that open carry like knives and mace and stuff like that. So most of the time, yes, they are armed.
Um, Tell me a story or two about how this work you do makes a difference in people's lives.
Um, so we help out a lot with where with the Opportunity Council and stuff like that. We do work for them. So sometimes I've been able to actually put some of the houseless people in contact with those organizations and get them some help, maybe get them off the street into a little apartment or something like that. So a lot of that kind of stuff, giving out food, water, supplies that they need. That, yeah.
You must come into situations that are pretty heartbreaking. Is there an
Yeah.
emotional toll that this job takes?
Yeah, there is. In a few different ways. You see a lot of not normal stuff people would see every day, like injuries, like scabs and stuff like that on their legs. The overdoses are a big thing, so having to deal with that, um, that does a little bit, but it's making a difference and helping people out, so it's all worth it in the end.
How do you interact with the Bellingham Police Department?
We're always cordial. They most of the time they don't. If they see us there, they'll kind of be like, "You're good," and then we just give them the thumbs up, and they're on their way. They do help us out in some situations, but yeah, it's pretty good for the most part. Yeah.
Why do you do this work?
Um, I've always been interested in security, and after seeing like the help that we're giving people, um, like the houseless and businesses in the city itself, it's got feels good to be able to do that kind of work.
Tell me a little bit about how you interact with like the hot team or the alternate response team. Any
Yeah.
maybe base camp personnel. Who are you interacting with out there for service providers?
So there's like street medics that they have. So if we see people that are going through like a mental breakdown or anything like that, I've been able to a lot of times been able to get them some help, as long as they are willing to get the help. So we've had people come out and talk to them a little bit, and then they take them to the hospital, or just good conversation sometimes does the trick as well.
Do you know any of the hot team members?
Not personally. It's kind of just as we go. Like I'll see them. They'll be like, "It's all good. I got this. You can go do what you have to do." And then so it'll always be friendly. They're always super friendly, and we'll just kind of be passing by each other a little bit. But yeah,
And the community paramedics, same deal with the fire department.
yeah. So a lot of times I've been able to have the people up after overdoses when they respond. So they would already be like awake and coherent. So they would just kind of come and check on them and ask me some questions, and kind of just be like, all right, well, I think we got it from here. Either take them to the hospital or leave them if they refuse to go to the hospital, and just make sure they're okay to be on the street still.
Do you have any thoughts on how we might be able to improve our the system we have in our downtown? You know, I would ask anybody this question who is so involved with the work. It doesn't mean anybody's doing anything wrong or you're consigning your company to do anything.
Yeah.
I'm just curious what sort of thoughts you have as like how to make things better.
I mean, there's some pretty good stuff in place now, but I think to make it better, just more outreach to the community, maybe more places that we can put them up in a house, or not a house, but like an apartment or something like that, just to get them off the street and feeling like they can get showers and stuff like that. Get a little more confidence. Maybe a lot of times I've seen once they get into like an apartment, they actually go get a job and stuff like that and start changing their life around, get clean and everything.
What do you, let's see, so you don't carry a gun or go hands-on with people. How do you do your job given those circumstances?
Um, Usually just being nice to them, talking to them does the trick. Sometimes you have to be a little more stern with some people, but for the most part, with like the rapport I've built with them, they see me coming down the alleyway. They're like, all right. They start packing up before I even talk to them. They're like, yeah, we're out of here. Don't worry about it. So a lot of times they'll just kind of be on their way, just talking to me with a simple conversation.
Do you know folks by first name?
Yeah, I do. I know quite a few of them.
And do you know where they come from?
A lot of them come from like down south. Like I've met a few people from like Seattle, Oregon. Uh, they kind of come from a little bit of everywhere. A lot of them are from here as well. So, yeah, kind of everywhere.
How do you and RSU add to public safety in Bellingham?
So I think just seeing us always walking around, kind of just off the start, kind of makes people feel a little more safe around everyone, seeing that we're patrolling and making sure nothing's happening. And if something does happen, we're usually close by, so we'll be there very quickly, and most of the time be able to handle the situation on our own.
Tell me three things that come to mind, stories that come to mind when people have thanked you for the work that you're doing.
A lot of times with like overdoses, I remember one time I was doing the severe weather shelter, and someone came in, asked for Narcan, and I was like, is somebody overdosing or what's going on? And then they said, yeah, and then showed me where they were at. I came across two people that were overdosing at the same time. So I gave them both Narcan, and I was switching off doing CPR between both of them, keeping them breathing and everything. I was able to get both of them back to life before the paramedics got there. And so everyone around me was thanking me, and their friends and stuff like that, and the paramedics were showing their thanks to me for that. And then just like fights, I'll be able to see one and pull up on them and be able to be like, hey, let's knock it off. Cops are on their way. Just kind of disperse, and then they'll just leave, and it'll just disperse. And some of the business owners will see that and they'll be like, thank you. That was getting out of hand and stuff like that. So a lot of times it's like overdoses, fights, people refusing to leave like restaurants and stuff like that. They'll just go sit in there, and I'll go sit down with them and have a conversation and be able to get them out of the restaurant. And they appreciate that as well.
Is there anything else you'd like to say about your work or any other topics we've covered?
No, not really. Just it's rewarding work. It's a good time, and for the most part, it's a good place to work.
Cecil, do you have any follow-up questions you'd like?
No, I think you did a pretty good job of rounding it up. Yeah.
Good, okay. Well, hey, thanks so much, Chase.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, appreciate the work that you're doing.
Yep.
And
Of course.
I know everybody else does too.